Sa susunod po, kapag meron silang bad idea, like asking permission to conduct a process not subject to the stricter guidelines na ini-impose ng isang bagong batas, but eventually, they make the right decision na sundin ang tamang proseso. Pag tinanong sila sa Senado, months after, it's another half year after, yes, it's another 5 months after, Mr. Chair, para hindi nila komplikahin yung buhay nila at galitin ng Senado, sumagot na lang sila ng makatotohanan.
Senator Rizal Antiveros is once again recognized.
Salamat po, Mr. President. And actually, kailangan ko rin magpasalamat kay Senate President na nagkaroon ka ng dahilan mag-suspend ng interpellation na sinimulan ko kanina. Kasi nagkaroon tuloy ako ng oras na i-research nga yung follow-up sa ilang mga tanong ko kanina sa DICT. Alam nyo, Mr. President, Mr. Chair, meron ngang interparliamentary courtesy sa loob ng gobyerno natin sa pagitan ng legislature at saka executive. Saka may presumption of regularity, may good faith. Tayo, Mr. Chair, mga mambabatas pag nag-i-interpellate ng budget, in good faith na magtanong. And we expect the same good faith sa sagot. Hindi po dapat nagbibigay ng sagot ang executive na mali or hindi makatotohanan or kung may bad faith, pwedeng tawaging kasinungalingan. Kanina po tinanong ko kung may dahilan kung bakit ang Senate ay yung lumang batas na RA 9184 at hindi yung bagong batas na RA 12009 on New Government Procurement Act. Ang sagot po ng department ay yung IRR ng bagong batas ay hindi pa na-promulgate noon. Unfortunately, Mr. Chair, sa kahit sinong aling government website siguro, in my case, nakita nung staff ko sa dbm.gov.ph, February 11, 2025, lumabas yung IRR ng New Government Procurement Act. Samantalang, ang sulat ng department sa Office of the President ay July 1, 2025. Yung sulat tungkol sa direct contracting. May IRRs na po ang RA 12009 noon. So, mali or kasinungalingan na hindi pa na-promulgate yung IRRs ng bagong batas noon. So, kailangan kong itanong ulit, bakit yung bagong batas ang Senate at yung luma at hindi yung bagong batas, Mr. Chair, Mr. President? Nung sumulat ang department sa Office of the President, Mr. Chair, 5 months old na, halos kalahating taon yung IRRs ng bagong batas na sinabi ng department kanina, hindi pa daw na-promulgate nung sumulat sila sa Office of the President.
Well, Mr. President, this is the timeline, Mr. President. The letter, as you mentioned, was sent July 1st, 2025. And then, like you mentioned also, the IRR came out Feb 4, 2025. Apparently, the forms was only
Published on June 23, 2025, and it was effective September 2020.
the forms that they need to use for the bidding was only published June of 2025, and the effectivity of those forms will only take effect around September. So, in other words, Mr. President, there's a effectivity time period for the forms that they need to use for the bidding. So, in other words, the way they interpret it, hindi sila makakabid kung yung forms hindi pa rin effective, Mr. President. So that is the that is the reason why they did not use the new bidding law, Mr. President.
With all due respect, Mr. Chair, their interpretation is wrong. Wala naman po sa pagsasabatas na pagkatapos ng mailabas natin ang batas, pagkatapos ma-issue ng executive ang IRRs, kailangan may tamang forms pa para lang sundin ang batas. And again, with all due respect, Mr. Chair, therefore their answer to my question earlier was simply dishonest. The IRRs of the new law had been promulgated 5 months earlier before they wrote the letter. Baka kaya kinailangan pa nilang sumulat sa Office of the President para humingi ng authority gumamit ng direct contracting dahil napakahigpit na, mas mahigpit pa ang requirements para doon sa ilalim ng bagong batas. Nasabi nila kanina, wala pang IRRs noon. This is so unnecessary, Mr. Chair. I mean, unnecessary na galitin ng Senate sa pagsagot lang ng simpleng tanong sa interpellation ng budget ng isang department.
Well, Mr. President, I apologize for that answer. It was just relayed to me.
It's all right, Mr. Chair. It's not your fault.
Yeah, Mr. President. But I'm sure the department is listening very intently, and they know that the Senate's watching in terms of making sure that processes, especially bidding procedures, are followed to the T. And we'll request the department to give us a position paper on this matter, Mr. President. They also mentioned, Mr. President, that after the forms took effect, meaning it became effective, they immediately switched to bidding, Mr. President, as a sign of good faith. Nevertheless, Mr. President, I think the point is very clear that they have to follow the bidding procedures. No shortcuts, no conflict of interest, no biases. They have to follow the bidding procedures in order to reflect the best prices for our constituents. So we'll request the Secretary to submit to us a position paper on this. And again, I apologize that the answer seems to be not consistent, Mr. President, with the findings.
It's really all right sa panig ninyo, Mr. Chair. Hindi nyo kasalanan. Pero talagang hindi lang inconsistent, pero dishonest yung unang sagot nila. And if I may give a tip to the department, sa susunod po, kapag meron silang bad idea, like asking permission to conduct a process not subject to the stricter guidelines na ini-impose ng isang bagong batas, but eventually, they make the right decision na sundin ang tamang proseso. Pag tinanong sila sa Senado, months after, it's another half year after, yes, it's another 5 months after, Mr. Chair, para hindi nila komplikahin yung buhay nila at galitin ng Senado, sumagot na lang sila ng makatotohanan. Hindi naman tayo tanga, Mr. Chair. Kayang-kaya natin mag-research. We all prepare, all 24 of us, we all prepare for these budget interpellations. And it's infuriating to have... Nagbibigay naman tayo ng enerhiya sa mga away na dapat iaway. But this was so unnecessary, Mr. Chair. And I thank the good chair sa pasensya nyo dito sa pag-manifest ko ng ganitong mga kaisipan at damdamin din, Mr. Chair.
I share your sentiment, Mr. President. I also don't like flip-flopping answers. The flip-flopping answers is a signal that policy is not being followed and inconsistent policy actions. So this is a warning to the department that next time when they come here to the Senate and give us an answer, it has to be consistent and truthful, Mr. President. Kasi hindi maganda yung, I agree with you, hindi maganda yung palit-palit eh. No? Mas maganda pa kahit na mahaba yung sagot, but it's the reality, Mr. President. Again, I apologize, and the Secretary is here listening, and I'm sure he will never let this happen again, Mr. President.
I hope not, Mr. Chair. It's not just flip-flopping eh. It's hindi pagiging forthright eh. Lahat naman tayo nagkakamali or nagkukulang, so nagwawasto tayo, pinupuno natin. Pero tayo-tayo rin lang naman, all working in government. Let's be forthright with each other. And let's not insult the intelligence of any other institution, Mr. President. Dako na po ako dun sa definition ng underserved at unserved communities. Sa Bayanihan SIM project pa rin. Nabanggit din natin kanina, Mr. Chair. So sa concept note ng Bayanihan SIM project, ang layunin nito ay magbigay ng libreng internet access sa mga benepisyaryo sa underserved and unserved communities in key development locations nationwide. Pero kung titignan natin yung parameters ng project, mukhang yung unserved and underserved projects ay nasa coverage na ng existing cell sites. Anong plano ng DICT para matulungan naman yung mga komunidad na wala sa coverage ng existing telecommunications infrastructure, Mr. Chair, Mr. President?
Mr. President, the agencies also going to tap new technologies, no, such as Starlink at yung mga ganitong service providers, and they're also hastening the implementation of Konektado Pinoy, because part of the direction of Konektadong Pinoy is really to reach the underserved and unserved areas, Mr. President. So, yan din po yung isang strategy na ginagawa po ng ahensya.
Salamat, Mr. Chair. It's been noted that there will be no rollover of data in the Bayanihan SIM project month to month, and that Bayanihan SIMs will be geo-fenced to a specific area. Hindi ba matinding limitasyon yan sa usefulness ng serbisyong ito para sa mga mag-aaral at guro or kahit sa mga secondary beneficiaries, Mr. Chair, Mr. President?
Well, Mr. President, this is a technical aspect of this. This is the technical aspect of this technology. Well, Mr. President, the reason why it's geofence, so that yung mga binibigyan po ng SIM cards, doon lang nila magagamit sa areas ho nila. Because or else magagamit po sa ibang areas at it defeats the purpose of addressing the needs of those areas. So yun po yung dahilan kung bakit po naka-geofence.
At yung walang rollover of data po from month to month, hindi po ba yung limitasyon? Pag hindi nila naubos yung kumbaga rasyon nila for that month, hindi nila maidadagdag dun sa data nila for the following month, Mr. Chair.
Well, Mr. President, it's a design of the service that was offered. And personally, I'm not an expert, Mr. President, with telecoms, but typically the services that we buy from ordinary telcos, you have to use that capacity for that month. So dapat ubusin rin. So I think it's the same concept that they applied in this Bayanihan SIM project, Mr. President. So dapat maubos mo talaga yung capacity mo there para hindi rin naiipon sa ibang mga buwan. So that's the design of the product, Mr. President.
Salamat, Mr. Chair. Tungkol sa proprietary nature ng frequencies, huling tanong ko dito sa Bayanihan SIM project. The request for direct contracting in the Bayanihan SIM project was justified by claiming that the radio spectrums assigned to telcos are proprietary and exclusive. Pero ang project na ito ay tungkol sa mobile data connectivity na generic commodity na ino-offer ng multiple players. So hindi po ba na itong assertion ng DICT ay kumokontra sa fundamental understanding na yung radio frequency spectrum ay isang finite natural resource na pagmamay-ari at ina-allocate ng Estado, Mr. Chair?
Mr. President, the radio frequency spectrum is owned by the state. It's an asset of the state. And pinapahiram lang ho natin yan sa mga telco players, Mr. President. And they pay government a certain amount for the use of that. In fact, in other countries, you bid for that spectrum, Mr. President. So tama ho kayo na it's a finite resource, Mr. President.
So hindi po ba kontra yung assertion na yung radio spectrums o spectra assigned sa telcos ay proprietary at exclusive na parang nabibitawan ng Estado bilang finite natural resource na Estado lang ang may-ari at Estado lang ang nag-allocate, Mr. Chair?
Well, Mr. President, to explain it simply, it's a technical aspect. So yung mga telcos, they have licenses, and the frequencies assigned to the telcos, and the frequency is also backed by a license, Mr. President, and they also pay for the use of that frequency and license, Mr. President. So habang ginagamit ho nila, may lisensya sila, in other words, and they have the right to use that frequency, Mr. President.
Baka yung seeming contradiction lang, Mr. Chair, ay yung paggamit ng mga terms na proprietary saka exclusive ng mga radio spectrums o parte ng radio spectrum na ina-assign, ina-allocate sa telcos, na parang hindi siya exclusively pagmamay-ari at ina-allocate ng Estado, Mr. Chair.
Well, Mr. President, itong mga telco players, they have the right to use that frequency for perpetually, unless they violate certain conditions of that license or even service. Diba? Kung hindi maganda yung service, the state can revoke that license and take it back. So there's a responsibility for the user of that frequency, and the responsibilities to deliver service to for our constituents and for the nation, Mr. President. Mr. President, the Secretary explained to me that the reason was really time. So they wanted to execute this project as quick as possible. So they thought that the best and the quickest way to execute this project is through direct contracting, Mr. President. But eventually, because of that GPPB regulation, eventually they decided to conduct a public bidding, Mr. President.
Thank God for that, Mr.
Yeah,
Chair.
you're absolutely
Opo.
correct, Mr. President. Your observation is 100% accurate, Mr. President.
At dahil, ay itong susunod na tanong ko, siguro dahil mga mambabatas po tayo, Mr. Chair, ito po yung pinaka-importanting, or isa sa pinaka-importanting tanong ko tungkol sa bagay na to, Mr. Chair. Dun sa sulat, ang nakasite ay RA 9184 nga, yung lumang procurement law. Hindi yung bagong RA 12009 o New Government Procurement Act. Yung bagong batas, mas mahigpit ang requirements para sa direct contracting kung sakali. Gaya ng mandatory market scoping para nga maipakita na no suitable substitute exists. So, may dahilan po ba na yung sinite ay yung lumang batas at hindi yung bagong batas, Mr. Chair, Mr. President?
Yeah, sorry for the delay, Mr.
It's all
President.
right, Mr. Chair.
I was just getting more details, Mr. President. So, well, Mr. President, the simple answer was that time the IRR of the new law was not promulgated yet. It was not released yet, so they used the old law. But the way I understand this, Mr. President, is there are 360 lots, and one lot
Yes, Mr.
is
Chair.
composed of several schools, Mr. President. So in other words, they conducted one bidding, but per lot, a different winner can actually be declared, no, depending on the price and quality, Mr. President. So may bidding itong 360 na nangyari, in short.
Yes. I-check ko na lang po siguro pagkatapos itong interpellation, Mr. Chair, kung hindi pa nga available yung IRR nung
Yes, Mr.
bagong batas. But the fact is, may bagong batas na noon. And in fact, in most, if not all of the laws we pass, Mr. Chair, may repeal clause pa siya. So malinaw yung spirit nung batas na nare-repeal yung nauna at ito na yung mangingibabaw. And in a way, yung IRR ay yung letter of the law na kailangan naman talaga sumunod para ma-apply po
But
natin.
as an
Yes,
additional
Mr. Chair.
information, Mr. President, during the time na they're preparing for this, wala pa yung IRR.
Apa.
Pero the actual bidding, apparently, I was informed, they used the new law already during the actual bidding, Mr. President.
And again, Mr. Chair, that's really good. Thank God for that.
Yes, Mr. President. And thank you, Mr. President, for being vigilant so that
Opo.
our agencies will know that we are very strict when it comes to bidding and making sure that the correct prices will only be used for procurement, Mr. President.
At saka syempre po, Mr. Chair, alam natin bilang mambabatas, gusto natin magtagumpay yung mga departments natin, lalo na sa mga bagong programa nila. At yung ambag natin tungo doon ay yung mga batas na ipinapasa natin para maging gabay sa kanilang implementasyon,
Tama, Mr. President.
Chair. So, matapos i-claim na direct contracting ang applicable, gaya ng sinabi nyo, Mr. Chair, eventually, nagkaroon din ng bidding sa project. And hindi ko masabi enough, thank God. No? So, anong nangyari na nagbago ang isip ng DICT, Mr. Chair, Mr. President?
Mr. President, I think there was a realization on their part that they have to strictly follow the GPPB regulations, Mr. President. Like what you mentioned, Mr. President, they studied the GPPB and they saw that the regulation is mandatory in terms of bidding and getting competitive pricing, President.
O nga pala, Mr. Chair, salamat sa pagpapaalala. Kahit nandun sila noon, sabi nga nila, sa pagitan ng lumang batas at yung IRR ng bagong batas, meron ng GPPB regulation. So, siguro, resolution. So, siguro yun yung baka isang lesson nating lahat moving forward na hindi pa man na-issue na yung IRRs ng isang bagong batas, we can always fall back on and in fact, rely on para gabayan tayo sa implementasyon ng mga programa, yung mga resolutions kahit ng executive, Mr. Chair. So, ano na po ang status ng procurement process, Mr. Chair, para sa Bayanihan SIM project?
So, Mr. President, the procurement is ongoing. 251 lots were already awarded and 109 lots for rebidding. Bakit rebidding? Failed bid?
So, it's...
Nag-rebidding dahil po nag-failed bid. So, the target is they will distribute 1 million SIM cards within 12 months with 12-month internet service and 500,000 SIM cards by 2025 and the rest by 2026. So yun po yung target. And they will be, it's geared towards servicing 360 underserved communities, including 1,500 schools.
Alright.
Ang beneficiaries rin po is about 5 million individuals. So marami-rami po.
Marami-rami po.
Yeah.
Opo. Salamat, Mr. Chair. Dadako rin ako sa isang follow-up question, maya-maya ng konti tungkol dun sa underserved communities. So, huling tanong na lang dito sa unang paksa, Mr. Chair. Nitong taon, naipasa na yung Konektadong Pinoy Act. So, paano po aapektuhan nitong bagong batas itong proyekto moving forward? Nabasa natin na inaasahan ng DICT na may 2 hanggang 3 bagong telecom companies na papasok sa bansa sa mga susunod na taon.
Well, Mr. President, the Konektadong Pinoy is a competition bill. So it's geared towards attracting more players in the different segments of the internet connectivity segments. So in other words, pwede na hong pumasok itong mga players in the different segments, last mile, middle mile, even yung mga entry points, Mr. President. So hopefully we get we get cheaper pricing, better service, and mas malawak po na access para po sa ating mga kababayan. So that's the direction of the Konektadong Pinoy.
Okay. Salamat, Mr. Chair. Yun naman yung inaasahan natin bilang mga mambabatas din na nakakatulong tayo magtayo ng isang policy framework na cohesive at nagtutulungan in effect yung mga iba't ibang batas na pinapasa natin para mag-facilitate ng mga tamang mga programa dito sa ating bayan. Good sponsor, Mr. Chair, Mr. President. Magsususpend muna po ako ng aking interpellation to give way to the interpellation of the good Senate President in the interest of time, Mr. Chair.
Yes,
Mr.
thank you.
President.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
President.
Senator Risa. The Senate President is recognized.